Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Someone just type and let me know for sure that you can hear me so I know I'm not talking to myself. Okay, great, thank you. So what we're gonna do as requested last week is do a critique of each other's artwork. So I pulled from some of the most recent things that came in to me this week. I know, Addie, you have to leave, I think you said at 5:15?
Yes.
Okay. And then Jared and Parker, you guys normally have to leave early too. So we'll just have you guys comment first, and then everybody else can kind of jump in afterwards. So I'm going to switch my screen. We'll look at the work, talk about it, and then as usual, I'll hang out and answer any questions. So if you have to leave before I get to the question part, you can just type any of your questions in the little chat box, and I will answer them so that you'll still get your answers in the recording. Um, One other thing my plan was earlier today, I was supposed to do a live interview with another artist, and she actually emailed me that her modem or something got struck by lightning, and so she doesn't have any internet access right now. So tonight and probably in tomorrow, I'm going to create a different lesson since I'm still going to interview her at some point, but not this week. So I'm going to put something different together for all of you. All right, so I'm going to switch my screen so you no longer see me. Okay, and I will let you know if the pieces are finished or if they're in progress, because it's a kind of combination. And I pulled some of the sketchbooks from the artists that you were inspired of, so it's a whole wide range of collections. So this first one is a finished piece, and so RJ is working on creating his own characters and telling a story through his concentration. Um, any of you that have to leave early, we'll start with you first, and I'm going to let you look at his second piece sort of simultaneously. So this is the second one. And so the first thing, a couple questions that we can talk about is, what do you think is the strongest thing about either one of these pieces, and why do you think so?
Um, I believe the strongest thing in his artworks was the use of line. It adds a crude aspect to many of his characters, which reveals the probably the personality of each character in this world he is trying to create his story.
So can anyone else comment on something that you think would make the overall piece stronger? So maybe the storyline would be clearer, or you think it would make the characters pop out more?
Um, I think maybe if they could have something that they're doing, like they're just kind of standing around right now. If like they had an action they were performing.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And what are your thoughts when I first was kind of looking at these? I had also mentioned that potentially either they need to be interacting with each other on the page, would be on a page themselves. So what do you guys think as far as, do you like having several characters on the page, or would you find it a little bit more interesting, or potentially think it would be stronger if it was just one or two of the characters but they had more of an environment around them?
I think it would be more interesting if they were doing something and interacting.
Okay, okay.
I agree. It kind of feels a little sterile. It feels like they're, I guess maybe because there's just two of them, but yeah, they need to be, I think, doing something.
All right.
Uh,
Any other comments on these two before?
yes.
Okay, go for it.
It would be a bit more helpful if these characters had a varying scale, and also because the characters are isolated, the audience are not able to have them being more of a personality in each character.
Mm-hmm. Scale is a great idea too to kind of play with telling the story. If you know, like this guy, I feel like he could be really, really giant compared to maybe her, and it would tell a little bit more of the story about each character in that sense as well. I feel like someone's typing, so I'm just gonna pop over and see if it's okay. We're cool. Back to this. RJ, since you are on here, do you have any like specific questions other than what we talked about your pieces that are on?
All right, well, I just joined, so I didn't hear the whole thing, but I'm gonna check back in the video so I could hear the whole thing. But I just had an idea on giving a little bit of context to it. Maybe I could separate each character into their own concentration piece. I don't know. What do you think of that?
Yes, that's part of what we were talking about just before you popped on, that pretty much everyone thinks they need to be separated and put into some kind of an environment, or you could potentially have more than one character in a piece, but they need to be interacting a little bit more.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
Already.
That's great feedback. I'm definitely gonna work on that.
Cool. Oh, another thing you could play with, because I think RJ is going a little bit more towards the 2D design portfolio. So any of you that are thinking about that, and actually you can do this in the drawing portfolio some as well. So if you're looking at these pieces and you're looking at your characters and you're a little bit uncomfortable with that, one thing to do, since they're digital, you can actually print them out, cut them out, and kind of play around with collaging them into other scenes, just to give you some room to experiment without having to make really big commitments to things.
Okay.
So this.
Okay. That sounds great.
All right, good. This piece is, I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to remember all the emails I read, that I think it's pretty much finished. So what I want you to think about, and probably the easiest way to do this, is just close your eyes and then open them back up. And what's the first thing that you look at? And then how does your eye move throughout the piece?
I really like this one a lot.
And what do you like about it?
I think it shows a lot of great use of the color, so I have to compliment the artist on that, and just like how much detail and like you could tell the brush, you put a lot of work into it. So great job on that. I also like the perspective. The different objects help my eye to kind of move around. Like first, my eye moves towards like the little building there. And then it moves to the tree, and then I see the tree right there.
Okay.
And then I notice the bridge, and I think great job on that.
Go ahead.
When I first look at this piece, I see the big red tree near the bridge, and then my eye gets caught up with the swooping roof of the shrine, then down to the pathway and then up to the bridge, which makes I see a repetition of wavy lines in this artwork, which could potentially be a a very good texture to use. Just there's one critique I would like to make about the water for this piece, if it had wavy lines in it, to further create a rhythmic motif throughout the entire artwork.
Mm-hmm. It's always helpful to kind of hear how people are looking at your artwork, because sometimes when you've made it and you've looked at it for so long, it seems kind of obvious. And it's important to find out if people are getting stuck somewhere, which so far what it sounds like from all of you is that people aren't getting stuck, that with these wavy lines that we have and then the color bouncing throughout, it keeps the eye moving, which is part of the goal whenever you're making a piece of artwork, that the composition keeps the eye moving around, as well as it doesn't just like draw you in and then send you off the page really quickly. I think that your comment on adding a little bit more texture to the water could definitely be something to play with, and it would help to even add a little bit more depth to the water and then depth to the entire piece itself. Because remembering, things that are closer to us have more detail, more texture to them. And so since the water is what's actually in the front, by bringing in more texture, more detail, the waves into the water, it's also going to make these, okay, so it's going to make us feel like we can go for a little bit more of a journey. So I can't see who all's on right now, but so the person that made, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just want to say, if you don't want to mess with the original, like if you don't want to go there and repaint it, one thing that I do sometimes with my work, if I don't want to like mess with the original, maybe go in there digital and see what you could, if you maybe you could paint over it with a brush tool on Photoshop or whatever program to add like a little reflection maybe on the water.
Yeah, the computer is always a great way, even just to experiment. So even if you're in the final piece, you're going to go in and actually do it by hand. Digitally is an awesome tool to actually experiment with things a little bit, play with coloring, because it's not such a big commitment. It's easy to just click undo if you don't actually like what happened. So you could just pull this up on your computer and play with some things right in. Any other questions, comments about this one before I? All right. So I think most of the rest of these that we're looking at came from pieces that people turned in kind of the sketchbook assignments that you were doing based on the artists that you pulled inspiration from. And these were really interesting to one of you. There were great connections between the artist's work that you really liked and what's happening in your concentration. If that doesn't happen, that's okay. But it's a good place to feed yourself some new ideas. You've been working on your concentration for a while now, so there's the potential. Normally one of two things happens. Either you're kind of getting sick of it and you feel sort of stuck and you need something to help you move forward, or any ideas going that you kind of need something to help get you a little bit more focused. All of these sketchbook pieces are, again, they may lead into something that goes into your portfolio. They may lead into breadth. Some of them may lead into concentration pieces, actually, from some of what came through. That's also going to be a little bit of your decision. So this piece that we're looking at was inspired by the artist Edward. And so all of these are, finished kind of sketch ideas. So when you look at this one, what feeling or emotion do you think of?
Huh. That's interesting. I like the color. I'm not sure. Maybe a word. I'm just gonna say a word. Maybe distance. I don't know.
Okay, there's no right or wrong answer. Distance works. Is there, if you're looking at this and thinking of classmates' work that you've seen, are there any guesses as to what concentration this relates to?
I think it relates to the nightmare one.
Okay. I don't actually remember which one it is. I don't even know the right answer to my own question.
Yeah, it has a little bit of a dream feel to it. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything is, the colors are sort of like there's a little bit of color. Most of it is like has a brown tint to it, and or kind of on the gray scale. So it has a very dream. So it would fit under the nightmare, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to pop to another one. I think this one was also still inspired by the same artist. I like this sign up on the wall, clean clothes. So what do you all think is the most successful thing happening in this?
I think the shading is most successful, especially on the ceiling.
Yeah, it really still works to lead your eye in. I also think this, like, it's really simple, these windows with the shades pulled down and the light coming in. But it creates a really interesting pattern over here on the wall that would be fairly boring if that wasn't actually happening. And then there's definitely something, at least in my personal opinion, a little bit creepy about this woman and just the way she's looking at the viewer while she's taking her laundry out of the washing machine. I mean, normally when you're pulling your laundry out of the washer or dryer, you're kind of looking in the washer or dryer. So her body positioning and the way she's really feels like she's looking straight at you is a little bit creepy. Does anyone else think that, or I'm just don't like laundromat?
No, I see it. I see it.
I see it for sure. There's like that kind of mysteriousness, that kind of, you can't really see the person's face really clear, so there's that kind of. But yeah, also I think I like the contrast of colors a lot between the green and the gray, and and then the hints of the yellow.
All right, next up. Oh, I cut off who that. Whoa, sorry, I got too many buttons pushed. I cut off the name of who this was inspired by accidentally. I don't remember. So this one, we've got our alien figure holding a head in their hand. So if you were thinking that this was going to turn into a finished piece, what else would you like to see happen to it?
Maybe I think I'd like to see a background, like a color even. I think just the color, it doesn't have to be elaborate at all.
So would you do the whole background in one flat color?
Like a flat color, maybe with like different hints, like maybe a black border around the end. I'm kind of thinking, have you ever heard of the artist? I think his name is Luke Chu, I think.
I haven't.
Okay, well he has like the concept, not necessarily the style, but the concept reminded me a lot of this. He draws a lot of bears with like, and they have like different, like they take off their head and there's something else. Like one's a gummy bear, one's like a real life bear. But they're pretty cool, and I definitely recommend his work.
I think.
Okay. Have you guys ever heard of? I'm gonna become me for a second. I think. Hold on. Stop. Okay. Heard of the photographer? I'm trying to think of his first name. His last name is Meatyard.
Meatyard?
Yeah, let me look him up because his photos are really creepy. and it goes very much with the nightmare stuff. All right, let me switch back so you can.
And here I'll post a link of the artist I was talking about.
Awesome, thank you.
Some of his work has definitely inspired me.
So these photos that are up on my screen now are by this photographer, Ralph Eugene Meatyard.
Huh.
So he takes people and then puts like really weird masks on them and then puts them in kind of weird places and photographs them. But that sketch sort of reminded me of this type of thing, as well as the whole idea of the nightmares, because his work is kind of nightmarish inducing.
Yeah, I like it. Cool.
One of my students one year was really into him and doing photography like him. All right, back here. So we have our alien spaceship. This is another one that definitely potentially could keep going and turn into a concentration piece because it goes along the whole theme of the concentration. So if this was going to be totally finished and you guys are looking at it, when you see it, what do you think, what goes through your head if you're like, it would be so cool if this happened?
Well, I like the I like this is really I like the colors of this. I like the red and the orange colors, how they just kind of they really pop out because the rest is kind of like dark colors.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice if it was bigger, like kind of lengthened, and then like there'd be more details in the background, and maybe kind of like Mars almost.
Like this go higher, or this way.
Widthward, like.
Okay.
Right, and if maybe play around a little bit. I really like this, but I think also maybe kind of cool to just play around with perspective and how big you're gonna make it, how small you're gonna make it. Try putting it in a different place of the page, like maybe more on top, maybe.
Yeah, it could be interesting if this went out a little bit bigger and even if there wasn't much more detail, just empty space would be kind of fine, seeing the spaceship and the light shining down on everything.
Right.
So let's talk about this one. So this is a concentration piece that is in progress, and it's actually probably much more in progress than from this photo, because this photo is from maybe last week, but I don't think I shared it with all of you. So what I'd love to know is what your recommendations would be, thinking about what are the first things that you see, what's attracting your eye, how are you moving throughout the piece that you think would make this become complete.
It would be nice to get more detail in the lens. I think it's looking at a plane, but I'm not really sure. I can't tell exactly what it's supposed to be looking at. Probably by now you can, since it's probably more progress.
I think it's looking at a boat, but maybe I was wrong. I thought this was a boat.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what it was. I'm thinking
Come on, Jared.
I'm thinking that it'd be. I agree with you. I think it'd be cool to add a little more to the lens. Like maybe, I'm not sure right now if we're looking through glass, so maybe we could, maybe a little reflection. But I think I really like the texture of I like the texture of it right now.
Yeah. Are you still on the call, Jared?
Yes.
Yeah, can you, I know this was from last week, so you're probably a lot farther along. So can you tell us a little bit more about your idea behind this and kind of where you're trying to take it? And if it's not totally finished, if there's anything that you're still kind of struggling with.
Well, in my piece, I was experimenting with the play of blue and red, and what this person is looking at is a foreign spacecraft in a dense cloud of fog in the distance. And
Ah.
I and and it would be a bit helpful if I put some sun or a moon in the background to try to make this not like a pond or an ocean or a boat in a like shallow harbor or something.
Yeah,
And,
I totally see the clouds now that you say that, which is why it's also sometimes I mean, and the other thing to think about as you're doing it, um, and I don't necessarily know the answer to this, does it ultimately really matter if someone looks at it and thinks that it's a boat, or they look at it and they think it's a plane, or they look at it and they think it's a spaceship?
well, if the person, it does matter a bit because if the person can't perceive the ship as a plane or a spacecraft, they will not really understand my concentration
Okay,
idea.
so there you go. You have the answer. Um,
And I just want to say it has a very sci-fi feel, kind of just for me.
mhm.
Yes.
But yeah, it's very cool.
I think maybe what would make it be more sky-like is to not have this more of a solid blue. Because for me, what's happening is this solid blue is making it seem like calm water in the distance and making it feel like these are waves. But if it was a little bit more of the white cloud-like feel through all of it, I think it would read more as sky.
And I'm curious, is it like a reflection in like a gas mask, or are you like looking out of like a plane?
Maybe we lost him. I think they had to leave for swimming.
All right.
Oh, yeah, they had to go. They have swim practice. Oh, no, they're still here. No, they just disappeared. So we'll have to wait till later. All right, are you back? Can you see my screen again? I'm gonna jump, let's see. So these are all, just to give you some context, these are RJ's characters before they got more color. So here we get to see them individually on the page. But I think even individually on the page, they still need some kind of context, some kind of background to take place and to happen. And all right, this will be the last one. We'll talk about this one. This is another one that's in progress, but it was in progress last week, so it's probably farther along at this point in time. So if I remember correctly, this is a road in Greece. So thinking
Oh,
about,
I can't see it right now.
oh, okay, thanks for letting me know. I'll see if I can fix that. That would be helpful.
Okay.
All right, can you see it now?
Oh, cool, I can see it now.
All right, much better. Okay, so I think this is a road in Greece. So remembering that it's in progress, but thinking about what do you think would make this piece even stronger, or what would really pull you into it and make you want to go find this road in Greece?
First of all, I really like it. I think I like the perspective a lot. I like the complexity of the vines and the plants on top. That's a very good element of it. I'd say one thing maybe to add a little bit of shading a bit on the wall, on the yellow wall. That I think that could look really cool. And
Okay.
maybe a few more like shading with like bold colors to contrast with the pastel, kind of like how you have on top.
Hmm.
Like you have both pastel colors and dark colors, and so maybe to add a little bit more that to the road.
Yeah,
But
go ahead.
oh sorry, but one thing I do like is that it the borders how it kind of trails off. I think that's a really cool effect. It reminds me of something. I forget the name of the artist, but it definitely reminds me of.
Hmm.
But I like that effect.
Another thing to maybe think about is just bringing another texture in by either putting like a few bricks or a few stones in the wall, or putting a little bit of texture down on the road to, if it's a dirt road, to let us know that it's a dirt road. Kind of push everything from, right now a lot of these things are all one texture, so all a smooth texture. Bringing one other texture into it can kind of add a little bit more visual interest to it as well. All right, so I'm gonna back to being. Okay. So this week, like I said, you're just gonna keep working on your concentration. Tonight and tomorrow, I have to decide. I'm gonna do a lesson since I'm not doing the interview with the artist that I was gonna do today. I just haven't totally decided what I want it to be yet. You'll get an email when that goes up. If you have a request for specifically what you would like me to do a lesson on this week, you can put in your request and I will try and make that happen. And I started probably this morning, but I don't think I got everybody's done. So there were a few new concentration pieces that came in. So normally you get feedback from me on concentration pieces in 2 different ways. So I do the feedback video, and I try and do that really fast, so that you normally get that in a day or two. And then you also I fill out the rubric for you and send that to you. That sometimes takes a little bit longer, but you should always be getting both of those things. So probably tomorrow and Wednesday, I'm going to go in and make sure I have sent everybody out the rubrics for their concentration pieces. So I only do those when the pieces are totally finished, and do the feedback videos whenever you're sending me work. And just kind of as a time gauge of things, realizing we're about a quarter of the way through. So it would be like the first marking period was just over. Just so you can kind of look at gauging yourself for how things are going, how much work you have done. For the most part, we're doing the concentration first because the concentration is more difficult, and I think the concentration takes more time, and then we'll move into the breadth. So ultimately, it should actually feel easier the farther that we go into things, as opposed to all of a sudden kind of switching, because normally the concentration part is the hardest part. So then, while I'm on here, if you have any other questions or things you want me to talk about, you can feel free to ask, and you can either talk or you can type, and I will answer. If not, have a wonderful evening.
Okay, I just had one question.
Sure.
The question was like I was thinking to the like the lineup I gave you with all the characters. I was thinking to separate. I was talking about how I'm gonna separate each one,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking since I think I sent you the email with the basics of the story, right?
Mhm.
So each of them has a transformation throughout the story. There's the one dude who turns into a werewolf, right? And I'm thinking that I'm gonna have one separate piece for each one
Mm-hmm.
as their first form and then as their afterlife form.
Yeah.
What do you think? With like a
Yeah.
background. Okay.
I just think when you're doing it, make sure that, like we had talked about, I think before you popped on, playing with the scale of them. So right now, almost all of them look like they're the same size. So having them be different sizes, putting them in some kind of environment and having them sort of do something so that they're not all, maybe some are sitting, maybe some are falling over, maybe some are jumping. So just thinking about that and paying attention to that as you're doing each character individually, that within, it needs to tell a story when it's together, but each piece also needs to tell a story and be strong and stand independently on its own.
Okay.
Okay? So what you might want to do is when you get like one or two of them done, or even like a rough sketch of what you think you're going to do, is send that to me so that you can keep getting feedback as you're sort of going through the process.
All right. That sounds great. That'd be awesome to get like feedback all the way through. I need to do like send more, but
Yeah,
but great. Thank you very much.
you're welcome. I'm looking forward to seeing them.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye.